Alright, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to import some brushes and texture screens. So you can see this photo here. What I want to do is I want to add like a paper texture to it. So I'm going to open up Chrome, and I went up here and I did an image search for paper texture. Then I went to the tool button, and when you go to tools, you go to the size search, and you want it larger than 2 megapixels. Alright, so in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose something that's relatively light, but it's got some good creases in it. So I'll choose this one. Right click or control click and save the image. And what you're going to do is you're going to drag that right on top of the photograph. It needs to be the topmost layer. You can see this is a big picture, and this is a much smaller image in comparison. Holding the shift button down to get a proportional crop, though it's not necessary with some of these textures. And then I'm going to drop it down to overlay mode. So you can see what that will do is it will give you more of a paper texture. It does lighten up some of this image here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to check some of these drop down menus and see if it gives me an effect that I like. That's definitely not something I like. Neither is that. So I'm going to go with either the soft light or the overlay. I actually like the soft light a little bit better. There we go. So you can see I have some texture in here, and I can continue to add texture screens to this if I wanted to. So I'm going to turn this off, or actually just delete it. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a brush to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one that I find from the internet. So I'm going to go back to Chrome, and I'm going to type in Photoshop brushes. And usually this one's a pretty good site to go to. Just make sure you're going to if it looks phony, it is probably phony. So click here, and what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for trees. You can see I get all these different brushes with trees. Let's try something. Oh, that's premium. I want free. There we go. Alright, so here are some tree brushes. Click the free download. And what it should download down here is as a zip file. Double click the zip file and it'll open up. And you can see I didn't get a folder. Sometimes I get a folder. In this case, I actually got the brush. Alright, so we're ready to go. I'm going to go to my brush tool, and I'm going to click the drop down here. Right where that cog is, I'm going to go import brushes and click the brush I just downloaded. And they usually show up at the very bottom of the page. There it is. Alright, so here we go. Click here. You can see there is my tree brush. I'm going to set the default colors to black and white. And you can see, just like a regular brush, I can make it a different size. I can go through here and check some of the different brushes. So there's how to import a brush. If you look through here, I have quite a few imported brushes. I've done like lightning's kind of cool. I've done paint splatters. I don't think I have any more loaded here. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. There's some spirals. And again, if you want to change the opacity, just lower the opacity right there. Alright, so that's how you import brushes. There's all sorts of brushes you could do. You can also create a brush. So I have a camera here. If I go and make a selection, works better on a white background or actually a blank background. So, and go to edit, define brush preset. I have just made a camera brush. That's what it's going to look like. Click OK. Go back to my picture here, and you can see there is my camera brush. Again, this looks better on a blank background, so you might have to cut it out and delete the background. Increase the opacity, and there's your brush. Alright, so that's how you add texture and also add different brushes to your photograph.